Welcome to another video. Hi, welcome to a video. My name is Crystal Lee, aka The Librarian on Instagram, if you want to follow all the bookish things that I'm currently getting into this year. But for this video, it's going to be bookish, and it's going to be just about books. I'm so excited, but more importantly, it is going to be about February and how it's the month of love, but it's also Black History Month. It's also Black History Month, and it's also the shortest month of the year. We pick our battles here. I'm excited for February. I'm excited for February, not just because it is the month of love and the month where I can learn so much more about the history of Black people and the greatness that all the greatness that we have done in the world, all the love that we have brought to the world, all the inventions that we have brought to the world, but then all the stories that we have brought to the world. And all the stories that were written by Black authors about Black people and Black love, some Black struggle, and then just overcoming, which sucks, right? We don't always want to overcome as Black people, but hearing good stories about it is a thing. It is currently cold out. The sun has went behind a cloud. Hopefully it comes back out. But I've been planning for this video for the last 2 weeks. Once I realized that I wanted to do it, we're currently at my safe place, my spot of Zen, the biblioteca, the library. I am so ready to just dive into all the stories that I have on my list of stories. So I planned for the month of February to be where I only read books by Black authors, and I started making a short list. I went on my already long as fuck to be read books in my Goodreads, but then as I'm scrolling the social medias, I'm seeing so many more awesome releases and books that are already out that I can read. And so I was compiling a list, and then I was just like, okay, but I also want it to be a diverse list. So on top of romances and historical fiction, I also wanted to throw in some fantasy and some thrillers. And so the list has gotten up to 22. Also, during my research, I was making sure the library had all the books that I wanted. So I kept putting books on hold. Out of the 23 books that I currently have on my list, which I will let you know about them in the library. I know we shouldn't talk, but we're going to be talking in the library. I put 8 books on hold. Well, 7 books on hold. One of the books I currently have on hold is a book that I wanted in the fall, but I just got it. Anyway. We have 23-ish books to pick up. Let's see. It's cold, but I have my coffee. Wawa had a caramel delight flavor. I got it. It's very caramelly, which I knew that, but I'm not used to this strong and this potent of caramel flavoring. But it's still really good. If I knew it was gonna be that flavoring, that flavored, I wouldn't have put so much sugar in it. Whatever, we here. We have 3 thrillers to pick up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 regular books to pick up, just because they don't really have a category. It's just when I looked up the genre of them, it was just coming of age, contemporary literature, which is contemporary fiction, I'm guessing. But they didn't say fiction, they said literature. So I don't know. I put them in a list of its own. It just says February book list. And then, I lied. I needed to scroll up. I was at the end of the list. We don't have 6, baby girls. We have 10. So we have 3 thrillers, 10 literary works. And then on contemporary fiction, we have 6. We're on top of the list. So 6 contemporary fiction. And then fantasy, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the 5th one that I listed is the 5th season, and it's a trilogy, so essentially we have 8. Anyway, without further ado, we're gonna head in the library. We're gonna grab the books that I have on hold, and then we're also going to pick up some other books. So we're gonna take a stroll around our library, and it's gonna be so fun. So come head into the library with me, and let's go get some books. Hold on, we have to first get our bag ready, because there's no way I can hold 20 something books or over 20 books in my hand. We are returning some books. This one I have to do a quick review on. I'm returning this one. These are mine that I bought. This was gifted. Bought. Need to continue reading. Returning. Keeping. Okay, get them out of here. Isn't this cute? I got it from TJ Maxx. No, Marshall's. I don't know. Ooh. Let's head to the library. I wanted this one and I thought it was available, but it's currently on hold for someone else, so I'm gonna have to hold it myself. So this is a thriller that I wanted, and this is the shelf number that we have to go and search the shelves for. So I just wrote the reference down, and I'm going to do that for all of the rest of them. We got 31 books. Well, now we had a total of 31 books checked out from the library. I think this is over 20. Some of them I didn't get. Some of them were on hold and no one told me. It's fine. Let's go back home and like dig into our winnings. You know what I'm saying? Dig into our finds. I'm so excited to show you these books. I'm so excited to read these books. Let's go. Hi everyone, so it's a brand new day. We are set up to do an actual talking about all the books that I got from the library on hold or that we grabbed the day of. Just so you know, I don't know if you follow this channel for anything else or if this is the first video you're seeing me in, but we are currently in my van. I am currently building out a van to travel in full time, hopefully in 2026, or just in part-time ways throughout this year. We don't know yet, but right now we're in the building stages. So we're doing this video from inside our van, which is always going to be like something I'm like so excited about because I knew I wanted this van to also be a place where I film videos. And this is like the first video I'm actually filming for like my YouTube channel in the van. So this is the setup right now. It's currently daylight outside. This setup will probably hit if it was darker outside, but that is not, I mean, I probably maybe, yeah, that's a test for a different day. But for today, we're just going to talk about our books. So I'm really excited just to have this setup kind of a little bit finally. Anyway, you're not here for that. You're here to know what books I picked up, which some of them you saw, but I want to talk about them. I have 26 books surrounding me right now. I'm going to do it genre by genre, and I'm going to timestamp the genres below, at least try to. And we're going to start off with fantasy because it is something that I got into briefly last year. I read one fantasy book, and it was that's a lot. I read a few fantasy books, but high fantasy, like world building, not just like magical fantasy, like actual just like fantasy. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, okay, I read a few categorized books, a few fantasy categorized books last year. And the main kind of fantasy book I read was Powerless, the Powerless series. It was okay. I haven't finished it yet. There's another book coming out that hasn't been released yet. So I have made it an oath to myself, like a vow to myself that I wouldn't start a series if it was still open and still going. I'm only going to start and finish series that are started and finished. So with that being said, let's get into the fantasy section of this book haul. So I have 8 fantasy books here. 6 of them are high fantasy, and then 2 of them are like strictly romantasy. So we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up to romantasy. The first 2 that we have are a duology. A river blood. Why do I sound so New York? A river. I was like, you can take the girl out of New York. but you can't get her to pronounce her E's and R's. The River of Royal Blood and A Queen of Gilded Horns. It's second book. I had this on my TBR since last year, and the only reason why I put it on is because someone told me it was about two sisters battling out for the throne, and I already have like a complicated sister relationship, and so I thought that I would relate to this because also the leads are Black. And so I know that there'll definitely be some things that I can relate to in here, but the story itself sounded really, really good. In a North African inspired fantasy world, two sisters must fight to the death to win the crown. 16-year-old Eva, is a princess born with the magic of marrow and blood, a dark and terrible magic that hasn't been seen for generations in the vibrant but fractured country in Myra. Its last known practitioner was Queen Reyna, who toppled the native Khmer royalty and massacred thousands, including her own sister, 8 generations ago, thus beginning the rival heir tradition. Living in Reyna's long, dark shadow, Eva must now face her older sister, Issa, in a battle to the death if she hopes to ascend to the ivory throne, because in the queendom of Myr, only the strongest, most ruthless rulers survive. And then it goes on to talk a little bit about the plot, but we're going to know about the plot when we read it. First book and the second book, it is a completed duology. At least I hope it's a completed duology. Hold on. Yep, it's a completed duology, so I'm excited for that. The next thing on our fantasy list is a trilogy, because why not? It's a 5th season trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. And it got me really excited because there was more fantasy written by Black authors, and I am just looking for it. So the first book in the trilogy is the 5th season. The second book in the trilogy is The Obelisk Gate. The last book in the trilogy is The Stone Sky. It's high fantasy, so I know it's going to take a long time for me to read because although I think I'm a creative brain, reading other people's creative brains are not fun for me. And also reading my first fantasy being Powerless, it took me a long time to like understand the world building, and maybe all has to do with the writer themselves, but I know it's probably gonna take me a long time to read some of these, and that's okay because it's the journey, it's the story, it's not about getting to the end. For the first book, the description is as follows. This is the way the world ends. Again, 3 terrible things happen in a single day. Isun, a woman, Isun, we're gonna again learn these. Isun, a woman living an ordinary life in a small town, comes home to find that her husband has brutally murdered their son and kidnapped their daughter. Meanwhile, Mighty Sanzai, the world-spanning emperor, whose innovations have been civilization's bedrock for 1,000 years, collapses as most of its citizens are murdered to serve a madman's vengeance. And worst of all, across the heart of the vast continent known as the Stillness, a great red rift has been torn into the heart of the earth, spewing ash enough to darken the sky for years or centuries. Now Isun must pursue the wreckage of her family through a deadly, dying land, without sunlight, clean water, or arable land, and with limited stockpiles of supplies. There will be war all across the Stillness, a battle royale of nations, not for power or territory, but simply for the basic resources necessary to get through the long, dark night. Isun does not care if the world falls apart around her. She'll break it herself if she must to save her daughter. That's what I'm talking about. I love the plot. Next on my fantasy list is Octavia E. Butler's Parable of the Sower. Now, I've heard so much about her, but still I feel like I know nothing because she's mentioned in the realm of fantasy and as one of the first Black creators to really step foot into fantasy, but that is all I know about her. So while reading this book, I'm definitely going to research more about her because I just don't know. And sometimes I feel ashamed to not know as much Black history as I should, and I just took what the school taught us as the end all and be all of Black history. But Black history goes back far beyond slavery, far beyond, and shows us in a light that is far beyond being enslaved by people. And not to say that Octavia E. Butler is like that itself, but I'm saying like she is an amazing writer. So I've heard, I haven't read any of her stuff yet, but she's an amazing writer. And I've heard nothing but good things about her writing. And her writing, I think, show the Black experience through the lens of fantasy. That's what I know. So I'm hoping just to get that out of there because I think it's something that's really interesting to learn and just have in my brain. And then the last 2 books on the fantasy list would be 2 books by Kimberly Lemming. I have 5 of her books on my TBR. Haven't read any of them, but her titles and her covers are just spectacular looking. The first one I have is That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf. just the title itself, the cover is gorgeous. And then That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. I think this was like her first one that came out. This is one of the books I saw that I first added to my TBR. And then looking at all the other books that she has, I was like, add, because it's such a silly title, but I know it's going to be so good. And these books are not necessarily high fantasy; they're more romantasy, which is good. It's like a what I've heard, it's a good buffer if you need like cleansing from the high fantasy stuff that you've been reading, and I'm here for it. Having this being romantasy definitely helps me segue into all the romance books that I have. So these are all the romance books that I have. I have 8. The next 2 books I have from an author named Celestine Martin. So the first one is Kiss and Spell. The second one is Witchful Thinking. I, at some point, knew the plot of these, but I no longer know the plot of them. But learning about Celestine Martin, she is a New Jerseyan, and she wanted to write a lot of feel good, happy ending for now kind of stories, adding in magical realism in all the places that she holds dear to her heart from being in New Jersey. And so it'd be really nice to like see if I know any of the spots that she's talking about in here. But this is all magical realism, like Kiss and Spell, falling in love can be a witch, and Wishful Thinking, a match made in magic. So cute. And it's just, and she's like gorgeous. A native of New Jersey, writes whimsical and flirty paranormal romance that celebrates the beauty of everyday magic. She's inspired to write happily ever afters and happy for now endings, starring the people and places that are close to her heart. See? Word for word. Because this is what, when I was looking up her, like herself and like her writing, that's like what everything said. Like that's her tagline, that's her MO, and that's so cute. We can read the synopsis, but it's fluffy love stuff. And magic. Next book I have is from Talia Hibbert. This is Take the Hint, Dani Brown. I showed this in my last book haul because it is a leftover from the last time I went to the library, and I just grabbed it. Fluffy romance. This is, I believe, one of the books in a 3-work like series, but not like a series that goes along with each other, but like just a series that happen to do with each other. Anyway, I think it's about 3 sisters, and there's 3 books in this like quote unquote series, and each book is about each sister. Dani Brown knows what she wants: professional success, academic. Right, the sticker's over that. Anyway, where's my phone? Danica Brown knows what she wants: professional success, academic renown, and an occasional roll in the hay to relieve all the career-driven tension. But romance? Been there, done that, burnt the t-shirt. Romantic partners, whatever their gender, are a distraction at best and a drain at worst. So Dani asked the universe for the perfect friend with benefits, someone who knows the score and knows their way around the bedroom. When brooding security guard Zafir Ansari rescues Dani from a workplace fire drill gone wrong, it's an obvious sign PhD student Dani and ex-rugby player Zaf are destined to sleep together. But before she can explain that fact, a video of the heroic rescue goes viral. Now, half of the internet is shipping Dr. Rugby. And Zaf is begging Dani to play along. Turns out his sports charity for kids could really use the publicity. Lying to help children? Who on earth would refuse? Okay, that's cute. That's cute. Look, can I tell you? I will tell you, I grabbed this with not a care in my brain. I saw this on social media, and then a couple days later, I saw it in the library and grabbed it and was like, okay, and just kept it with me, just hoarding it, not knowing the plot. And oh my God, that is so cute. It's interesting, it's fun, and there's fake dating, which, oh no, we're fake dating. There's no way we can fall in love. The next one on my list is Mickey Chambers Shakes It Up. Has been on my list for a while. The author, Cherish Reed. Is it Cherish? Cherish Reed? The author of this book is an author of another book that I read, or one of the authors in The Sky is Falling, which were 5 or 6 different stories written by different authors, all around the fact that the world is ending and what do you do when the world is ending. And honestly, if you're going to read that book, read it with absolutely not a care in your head. It is 5 stories about people just rolling around. The idea that the world is ending is not on their heads. I mean, it's a concern, but it's not the only concern. So if you're going to read that book, don't read it thinking that you're going to be enlightened. It was a good book though. So I have this one because her story, Cherish Reed's story, was one of the stories that I liked. Was a like rated highly. It was one of the ones that I liked in the Sky is Falling book. So I wanted to read more of her work. Mickey Chambers shakes it up. Mickey Chambers is an expert at analyzing modern literature, but when it comes to figuring out her own story, she's feeling a little lost. At 33, she's an adjunct instructor with a meager summer class schedule and too many medical bills courtesy of her chronic illness. Picking up a bartending gig seems perfect. Sure, Mickey's never done this before, but the gorgeous, grumpy bar owner Diego Acosta might be the perfect man to teach the teacher if he wasn't so stressed. What got him stressed out? Diego is worried he's running his late wife's bar into. Oh, there's the death. Diego is worried he's running his late wife's bar into the ground. Add the pressures of returning to college part time at 42, and it's no wonder he's making rash decisions, like hiring the sunny, sexy woman who looks more at home in a library than slinging beers to rowdy barflies, and who turns out to be teaching his online writing course, a complication neither was expecting. Sign me up. Romance like that is like so good. I know we're gonna get a story of like healing and character development. I know we're gonna get some backstories that make you feel like you're reading you in the story. I love to see myself in a character. When I can, it's a learning experience, but when I can, it just feels so good. The next book on the list is a love song for Ricky Wilde. Magical realism, romance. We love it. This one I have seen all on my feed, all on my social media feed. I'm ready to read it. It has magical realism in there, so I'm thinking we're going to get some timeline flashes, some ghosts, something. Let's see. One florist, one pianist, one love story, 100 years in the making. Okay. With that being said, another thing about me, I love a good lifetime love story. I love a good I have loved you in 1,000 lifetimes and I will love you in 1,000 more. My rings. I love when people have met in different lifetimes and like love each other in the current lifetime. Like I don't know why that gets me. Okay, I know why it gets me because I'm such a fucking believer in connection beyond this realm. Like, oh my god. So yep, no, I'm good. That's all I need to read. And I knew it was like something like that, but I forgot that tagline because I'm having all these books. I'm forgetting these bomb ass taglines. I want to read them all like right now. Anyway, the next one is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. A woman who is trying to live her best life after her husband has passed away. So we get to see her go through romantic life, real life, like her romantic life, work life, and just life in general after losing the love of her life. The title, again, is beautiful. And a title and a cover will always get me. Yes, I judge books by their cover, and then I proceed to judge them by their plot line. It is what it is. The next one is The Bookshop of Sisterhood. You can always rely on a good book and great friends. Cute, beautiful. I saw this book months and months ago at Barnes & Noble. Took a picture of it because we were on a budget and so happy that it was at my library. The tagline is, When life rewrites the story, only friendship will see them through. After years of hard work, four best friends, Celeste, Yasmin, Tony, and Leslie, are finally on the verge of opening the bookstore of their dreams, a place where their community can find solace with an intriguing new read, a comforting beverage, and book-loving friends. But before they can cut the ribbon, their worlds are upended. Yeah, they all got something going on. Because the Lord knows when it rains, it pours, but also there's sunshine when it's raining. With all the good comes the bad, and I'm really excited to get into the story of friendship. I love a good friendship story, especially with Black women, because it just hits. And I know the banter is going to hit. I know the talks are going to hit. I know it's going to be relatable. My leg is falling asleep, but I hope you're not because we have to keep going. The last book on my romance list is Waiting to Exhale. This, girl, let me tell you, I didn't know that this was a book. This has been a movie that I returned to since I was a little girl, but since like also being a 30-year-old woman. Waiting to Exhale is a story about four women, four friends, all literally looking for love or suffering from love. We have a single woman, like one single woman who is, I believe, the head of a broadcast station, and we have a single mother whose husband, I'm not going to give it away, turned out to be not what she expected. We have a second one who just like it's one of the girls that has a roster and she's like trying to figure out who's who and what she wants. And then the fourth one is currently going through a divorce. So the movie itself, I've always come back to and like watched. And from a little girl to 30, I have learned more things about the movie that I didn't see when I was little, but also I can relate to so much more. And it also makes me think that like nothing changes. Like nothing changes when it comes to relationship. I think we're all always dealing with the same thing, different realms and different decades, but very much the same thing. But every time I watch it, I learn something. And the fact that I saw that it was a book, I'm excited. So I'm excited to read this and see how it correlates with the movie. Obviously, this came first. And I hope it doesn't disappoint me in not being like the movie. It'll be okay if it isn't. Maybe I'll even learn more from the book, but I was so happy to see that this was a book. 'Cause I didn't know. It's weird knowing that I already know what will happen in there, but again, I'm hoping reading the detail of the book will give me more to look at with the movie. And this is a duology. So along with this one, Waiting to Exhale, we have the sequel, which is Getting to Happy. Look at that. Just beautiful. Beautiful. The movie ended in not like a cliffhanger, but like they have their quote unquote happy ending for now. And this is what happens after. So excited about that. But it's not categorized as romance, which is crazy to me because I was looking up the genre and it was like not romance. So this is just contemporary literature. So maybe there's no love in here. And that's fine. It's just funny how the first one was romance and this one is just contemporary literature. So either way, we're fine. But that gets me into the third category, the third genre of books that I have, which is contemporary literature. I have my first Toni Morrison book. I know. I understand. Sula. Literally have no idea what it's about. I just know that I want to get into knowing more of Toni Morrison's work. I've seen just videos of her with like talking about her life experience and so on and so forth. And she just speaks so poetically, and I've always felt encaptured whenever I saw a video, but I never took it further to actually read her work. And like that's fine. I'm not shaming myself for it, but it's time. Toni Morrison's first novel, The Bluest Eye, 1970, was acclaimed as the work of an important talent written, as John Leonard said in the New York Times in a prose. In the writing, John Leonard said, so precise, so faithful to speech, and so charged with pain and wonder that the novel becomes poetry. Her new novel has the same power, the same beauty. At its center, a friendship between two women, a friendship whose intensity first sustains, then injures. Sula and Nell, both black, both smart, both poor, raised in a small Ohio town, meet when they are 12, wishbone thin and dreaming of princes. Through their childhood years, they share everything: perceptions, judgments, yearnings, secrets, even crime, until Sula gets out of the bottom, the hilltop neighborhood where beneath the sporting life of the men hanging around the place in head rags and soft felt hats, there hides a fierce resentment at failed crops, lost jobs, thieving insurance men, bug-ridden flower, at the invisible line that cannot be overstepped. Sula leaps and roams in cities of America for 10 years. Then she returns to the town to her friend. But Nell is a wife now, settled with her man and her 3 children. She belongs. She accommodates to the bottom, where you avoid the hand of God by getting in it, by staying upright, helping out at church suppers, asking after folks, where you deal with the devil by surviving it. But Sula, as willing to feel pain as to give pain, she can never accommodate. Nell can't understand her anymore, and others never did. Sula scares them. Mention her now, and they recall that she put her grandma in an old folks' home, the old lady who let a train take her leg for the insurance. That a child drowned in a river years ago. That there was a plague of robins when she returned. In clear, dark, resonant language, Toni Morrison brilliantly evokes not only a bond between two lives, but the harsh, loveless, ultimately mad world in which that bond is destroyed. The world of the bottom and its people. Through 40 years, up to the time of their bewildered realization that even more than they feared Sula, their pariah, they needed her. This is interesting to me because while I was reading it, it just reminded me of like the prodigal son / prodigal daughter / the person who leaves the town or leaves the family for a bit and comes back and has known or learned or seen more than the people who did not leave and just wants to share that knowledge and share that healing, but is seen as someone who shouldn't be looked at all. And I'm excited to see what comes of it. So the next book that I have is the next two books that I have are from an author named Lola Akinmad Ackerstrom. The first one is In Every Mirror She is Black. The second one is Everything is Not Enough. Again, this is like one of those random books that I saw and I was like, title got me, because the title itself just felt like I'm gonna learn something from this and I'm going to like just relate to this a little bit. It says an arresting debut about three Black women linked to the same influential white man as they build new lives in Stockholm. So I do not relate to this. I'm excited to see where the story takes us. That seems wild off the bat, but essentially Everything is Not Enough is the follow-up. Yeah, is a follow-up about those three women with the white man in Stockholm. I just know from the title alone, the themes in this book is going to be like on point. Even given what I just read, I think it's going to be on point. I'm really excited about that. If I'm assuming correctly, it's the story of about three women realizing how Black they are, even when associated with someone white and someone who probably has status. I could be wrong, but we don't know that. The last book I have is The Queen of Urban Prophecy, a book that I saw along with the Bookshop Sisterhood months and months ago at Barnes & Noble, but I didn't want to buy it. And then when I saw that, it's just like all these books I put on my TBR because I just simply didn't have the money or the like motivation to buy it. I was like, let's just see if all these books are in my library. All of the 223 books, probably more now on my TBR and Goodreads, are currently in my library. And let the church say amen. This book is a mix of historical fiction and historical literature, which you got that right. We're going to transition into historical fiction in a second, but fame came easy. Fighting for change won't be. Let's see what this is about. Oh my god. Okay, when I tell you that my ass is asleep, I'm lying because it's in a coma. Okay. Let's read this synopsis, shall we? 20-year-old Deza has always thought she had men to thank for her rap career. Now she's headlining a major, first ever all-female tour. With a lucrative clothing endorsement deal, she's taking full advantage of 24/7 partying, endless celebrity perks, and smoking hot men. Her behavior generates tour drama, and when her female DJ quits, the label replaces her with the last thing Deza needs, the sexy male DJ she flirted with at a club. As Deza starts to feel the effects of her choices, her label prepares to undermine the all-female lineup in the name of a mega profits. Then her ex tells the press that Deza was just a sexy front for his genius. And when a deadly disaster reveals the clothing company is using slave labor, Deza faces the ultimate reputation crash and burn. Now, up against brutal industry sexism and corporate big money, she'll need the drive that she had as a scrappy MC to take a stand and put everything on the line to make change, not just for herself, but for all women. Sounds good. I don't know why the genre is historical fiction. I want to know what part of history it's about. Hold on, wait. Interesting. Contemporary literature. That's what I meant. This was contemporary literature, partial, and then political thriller and urban fiction. Contemporary literature. That's what it was. My bad. From historical fiction, we have 3 books. The first one we have is They Dream in Gold by Mai Sinar. Some of us are helpless before melodies. Our great plans for our lives escalated or abandoned with a singer's choice to wail or wait. This is Bonnie's nature, her mother's too. As a child, she believed that they had all come from sound. When Bonnie and Mansour meet in New York in 1968, his piercing gaze in a downtown jazz club threatening to carry her away, their connection is undeniable. Both from fractured homes, with childhoods spent crossing the Atlantic, they quickly find peace with each other. As Mansour's soaring Senegalese melodies continue to break new ground, keeping time with the sound of revolution and taking him and Bonnie from Paris to Rio and Switzerland, it seems as though happiness might finally be around the corner for them both. Then Mansour goes missing. His Spanish tour was only meant to last 3 weeks, but 3 months later, he and his band have not returned. In his absence, Bonnie reckons with her memories of him and comes to understand that the hopes of so many women, her mother and grandmother, his mother, aunt, and childhood friend, rest on her perseverance. Stirred by the life growing inside of her, Bonnie puts a plan in action to find him. Okay, I didn't know there was a pregnancy part in here. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. That gave me chills actually reading that. I don't know if it's because it's cold in here. It's not really cold in here. I insulated this bitch, all right? I don't know, but that sent chills like down my spine. Because I'm not really into like pregnancy tropes. Yeah. But it seemed interesting because it's a mystery, baby. It's a historical fiction and a mystery. That's what that is. I don't have any mystery here because I really, not that I couldn't find any, I have enough books. I have one thriller that we'll get to, but not much mystery. And the two other thriller slash mysteries I might have had were taken by somebody else. So that was just not in my plan. The next historical fiction book we got, The House of Eve by Sadekwa Johnson. I think it's just 1950s Philly. In 1950s Philadelphia, 15-year-old Ruby Pearsall is on track to become the first in her family to attend college, in spite of having a mother more interested in keeping a man than raising a daughter. But a taboo love affair threatens to pull Ruby back down into poverty and desperation. Don't let it happen, Ruby. That has been passed on to her like a birthright. Girl, don't let him do it. I'm not gonna read anymore. We're gonna leave it at that point. Cause like, what do you do? What do you do? Like for me, honestly, trying to figure out my own life and like learning the stories about the women that came before me and their life and how it has like come to some kind of pattern that leaves us like depleted, whether that be from a man or from kids or just not being able to follow our dreams. That kind of pattern and that kind of life that story has been played over and over again in the lives of the women in my family. And I know that I fight so hard and try so hard to just do different and be different and listen to that voice in my head that I deserve different. But what do you do when you feel like that is just how your life is supposed to go? Like she said, it feels like a birthright. It feels like the Garnett women. Hi, my last name is Garnett. It feels like the Garnett women are just deemed to live a life of disparity. Anyway, that should be fun to read. And then the next and last book on our historical fiction is Good Dirt. Guys, I didn't have to buy this. Can I just tell you? My library is so good that they had all these already before the release date and I got to hold one. So I saw that they had it and I put one on hold and I got it. I feel like it's one of those lucky day books that I have to read and give back, but they ain't tell me nothing yet. But this will be the first book that I read in February. I already got that down packed. Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. She is the author of Black Cake, which was also one of my 5-star reads in 2024 when I got into reading. It was so good. And it talks again about Black Cake, which I never did a review on. Black Cake told a story of a Caribbean woman and her life before having children, her life after having children. It talks about the themes of what we lose when we're not able to tell the people in our lives, like our family, the true story of us and what we've been through. And in not doing so, they're not able to learn or do better. And so you see them repeat the same mistakes or repeat the same thing that you did. And what would have saved them is the telling of the story. But there's so many reasons why we don't tell our past. We don't tell our story, whether that be shame, it may endanger ourselves or the people who are in front of us. There are so many reasons why we keep so many things to ourselves. And the story in Black Cake was definitely one of those things that was relatable because what do you do when you want the best for the people in front of you, but that takes showing your shame, showing your darkness, showing all the like probably things you deem disgusting about yourself, showing a side of you that you haven't shown this loved one in hopes that they'll learn and that they'll still love you afterwards. Black Cake was an amazing, amazing, amazing story. And I'm hoping that the same thing will be for Good Dirt as well. So the premise is sometimes the only way forward is to look back. Bitch, what did I just say? What did I just say? I swear to you, I didn't even read that before. Let's continue. Sometimes the only way forward is to look back. When 10-year-old Ebby Freeman heard the gunshot, time stopped. When she saw her brother Baz on the floor, surrounded by shattered pieces of a treasured heirloom, her life felt shattered as well. The crime was never solved. Ever since, the Freemans, one of the only Black families in a well-to-do enclave in New England, have dreaded becoming the center of another media frenzy. But when now grown Ebby's high profile romance falls apart, that's exactly what happens. Ebby flees to France only for her past to follow. As she processes the shock, she begins to think about the other loss of her family suffered that day. The stoneware jar that had been in their family for generations, brought north by an enslaved ancestor. Soon, Ebby realizes that the handcrafted piece held more than just her family's history. It might also be the key to claiming a new future. Wilkerson traces the reverberations of a crime, the fracturing of a family, and the myriad choices we face when we try to ease the wounds of the past and grapple with the fragments of fraught inheritance. Ooh, with its weaving of voices and deft movement through time and place, Good Dirt showcases Wilkerson's signature style and mastery of her craft, confirming her place as one of the most exciting novelists writing today. She's probably going to repeat the same kind of storyline and the same kind of like thing that I learned from Black Cake, and I'm here for it because you can never tell that story too many times. I feel like the secrets that Black families hold in hopes that the next generation will be better is something to retell and something that needs to be told. And I say it like, oh, it's not only Black people that do that. I understand, but I am Black, so that's how I relate to things. It could definitely very much happen in any family. But to see yourself in a story and to relate to that feels like you're not alone. It feels like you're not crazy, and it feels like healing because you're able to see a different outcome, even though it's a fictional story. So I'm excited to read that story. A little scared because I don't like when it comes to like shooting and like people dying, whatever like that. But it is a journey I'm willing to go on for this author. We got two more books. One that I did not really understand their genre because it has, okay, we have two more books. I'm going to get through the second to last one, which is a thriller. My Sister, the Serial Killer. One of the books that the title got me more than anything else. It's really tiny. I don't really like that, but whatever. So it's like it's a funny story. It's the thriller, but also like humorous. So I'm excited to read that. Femi makes three, and they label you a serial killer. Cored is bitter. How could she not be? Her sister Ayula is many things. The favorite child, the beautiful one, possibly sociopathic, and now Ayula's third boyfriend in a row is dead. Cored's practicality is the sister's saving grace. She knows the best solutions for cleaning blood. The trunk of her car is big enough for the body, and she keeps Ayula from posting pictures of her dinner on Instagram when she should be mourning her missing boyfriend. Not that she gets any credit, though. Cored has long been in love with a kind, handsome doctor at the hospital where she works. She dreams of the day when he will realize that she's exactly what he needs, but when he asks her for her sister's phone number, she must reckon with what her sister has become and how far she's willing to go to protect her. This is just a really nice thriller, like Sister Serial Killer. So that's the one thriller that we have. The next book, the genre is coming of age, domestic fiction, and Bildungsroman is also part of the genre. And if you look up Bildungsroman, if you look up the definition of that is a novel dealing with one person's formative years or spiritual education. That's a new word for me. I've literally never heard of that word, but it is one of the genres explaining our last book that we have. That is Sweetness in the Skin. It's by Ishi Robinson. For Pumpkin Peterson, home is complicated. She shares a tiny 2-room house in Kingston, Jamaica with 3 women. Her mother, Paulette, who ignores her, her beloved aunt Sophie, who her mother resents, and her grandmother, who has always played favorites. It's not an easy household, and whatever tensions rise, Pumpkin retreats to the kitchen, creating the Jamaican puddings and cakes that have always given her comfort. When Sophie moves to France for work, she vows to send for her niece in 1 year's time, promising a new life together. But in order to follow her aunt, Pumpkin has a mountain to climb, starting with the question of how she'll afford to make the journey. Inspired by her skills in the kitchen, Pumpkin turns to her community in the hope that she can sell enough sweet treats to bake her way out. But when her school and her mother discover that she's been raising money to leave home, everything she worked so hard for may slip through her fingers. Sweetness in the Skin is a funny, heartbreaking story about a girl figuring out who she is and what she's capable of, and where she truly belongs. Baby, all I'm gonna do this month is probably cry. For the fantasies, I'll explore. For the romance, I'll kick my feet. But for the historical fiction and the contemporary literature, baby, I'm gonna cry. I know I'm gonna cry, and that's okay. But mind you, these are 23 20. These are over 20 books. We're not going to touch all of this in February, but I'm so excited to like try. Ooh, somebody just walked by my van. Did I mention I was parked in a park? But anyway, those are all the books that I got from the library. Those are all the books I'm excited to read this month and the rest of this year, by Black authors. For me, it's literally just about seeing myself in a story. It's about relating to the person I'm reading. It's about seeing myself in the person that I'm reading. And I feel like if I do that a lot more often, I won't feel so alone and so unheard or unseen or feel like I have to blend in. And I understand it's just stories, but when I was a little girl, I lived through stories. I survived through stories, and I always found a good story was a way to just make me feel better and disassociate for sure. But it's always been great to see myself in the story as well. And so I'm really excited to have all these books around me more so than ever that I can do that with. And I hope that you take some of these recommendations or some of these books in general and read them yourself and feel the same way that it makes me feel and the excitement that I'm feeling to read these books as well. Also, comment down below if you have read any of these or you just discovered some of these that I also just discovered this year or last year and that you added some of them to your TBR. Let me know. I love you. I am grateful for you, and I will see you in the next story. Bye.